I am a citizen of planet Earth. I live on the continent of Europe, in a mountain range called the Alps, and in the middle of a deep valley surrounded by mountains. In the country of Switzerland, country of snow. In fact, snow is a big deal in my country. It's of relevance for our tourism industry, for winter sports, and with their access to our glaciers and peaks. It's of relevance for our clean energy supply with the harness of melting water and create energy and provide it to our industry and our homes. It's also of relevance for our drinking water supply. But snow in Switzerland, this is also very emotional. Every 3-year-old child has to go to the mountain if there is the first snow. So we consider skiing and snowboarding as a cultural competence. So let's talk about snow. And I promise, after I speak, you know why. Snow sheet consists of millions of ice and of millions of snowflakes. To create such a snowflake, it needs the right amount of temperature, the right amount of pressure, and the right amount of water with a little nucleus where the ice can build from to create such a beautiful element. Whereas all of them are different, they share same features, like the 6 spikes, or they're hexagonal in the core that they get from the crystalline structure of the atomic formation in the ice crystal. So my name is Nils Birkeland, and I love snow. You know, me and snow, we go way back. When I was younger, I used to be a professional snowboarder, traveling around all year on the mountain. Always looking for the best powder snow, for advertisements, media, spot reports, editorials. Or at home with my friends in my local ski resort in Elm. I come back to Elm because I found an interesting old weather station that caught my interest. So you see where my heart is. Together with my wife, my friends, and my family, I spend my weekends and off days in the snow. So during all these years, being in the mountain and the glaciers, I realized there is a change. Whereas ski resorts, like summer ski resorts, mountain glaciers, stopped their ski activities because there's not enough snow. And I also felt that winter, it came later in the year, and it started it started to go away earlier. Excuse me. So I thought there's something going on. Areas that normally covered white are brown, where normally you have meter thick of snow sheets and fresh powder all the time. It's dry and warm. So it's not the right temperature, it's not the right conditions for snowflakes anymore. So it seemed the temperature is rising and the climate is changing. So when looking around, all weather reports from the world show that my impression is correct. And so regions suffered from drought and reported from burning forests in the winter. Heat waves penetrated people for an ever-increasing duration. So the questions of the increasing and the rising temperatures reach all aspects of our life. And I said to myself, something is wrong. Profoundly. This cannot be real. I mean, and then I thought, you know, I could just not look. I just could not look. I could ignore it and forget about it. And, you know, I could say to myself, this is what planets do. They heat up one on one. It's going to be good one day. But when I realized that there is a minimal temperature, and from the average temperature we have on Earth, if the temperature goes from 3 to 4 degrees, we see the world, the planet, starting his own process to make it even worse by hitting the tipping points. If you go 3 to 6 degrees above average, Earth becomes almost uninhabitable. So I thought about life on Earth when with all these weather events around the planet, or even the forests in my area could start burn in the winter. So I was scared. How would my kids grow up if this climate change it unfolds unchecked? I got panic. And I could not get this out of my head. But to get over my panic, I had to start to understand. Learn as much as I can about climate change and its causes. So I listened to the words leading scientists from Switzerland and the United Nations. And they call it a climate crisis. They say human influence on climate system is clear. The anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions are causing it. And it's just the greenhouse effect at work. Okay. But I heard about the greenhouse effect in my primary school, but wasn't really aware how this is all related. So I said, I must find out where this heat comes from. So I looked at the greenhouse effect, where the sun brings energy in the form of light, and this passes our atmosphere and strikes the planet's surface. Some of this light is deflected from ice and snow, bounced back into the interplanetary space. Some of that light it strikes a surface that turns the short wave from the sun into the heat wave, a light from Earth. This light is called infrared. You cannot see it, but you can feel it as heat and measure it as temperature. Eventually, this temperature goes out to interplanetary space as well, but some of it gets trapped in our atmosphere. And because there is just the right amount of temperature with this trapped infrared light in our atmosphere, our planet could evolve life and become the environment that it is today. So I had to learn about chemistry, about the molecules in our atmosphere. Some of these molecules are part of nature. Some of these molecules are introduced by us humans. Science called this anthropogenic greenhouse emissions. And these molecules are called greenhouse gases because they can interact with this infrared light. Actually, these molecules are able to remove some energy from that light we call temperature, and they heat up. They're even able to radiate that heat themselves. And there is not only one molecule of this kind, there is many. There is methane, CO2, even water vapor. A lot of these elements are out there, and they're heating up. And if those heat radiating molecules are present, it has its effect to the atmosphere. The temperature rises. And this also has an effect to the planet itself. It will lead to melting glaciers, heating up the sea, and drying out my beloved snow mountains. And I had to dive into mathematics and and learn about this formula here. This formula is used to calculate a minimal error. That is very useful in climate science. As an example, climate scientists have a measurement data, like this data you can see in yellow, and that is the CO2 concentration, the current CO2 concentration in our air. So climate scientists bring in the red line, which is an approximation, and when translating this into a mathematical formula, you can create a predictor, a mathematical predictor. So this as shown in the red line. But and our best client scientists advise us to not follow that path, but to go down, to do it fast, and to do it now. So I said to myself, I want to support this reduction effort. I want to be a part of the solution. So I tried many things. I created a machine to remove CO2 from air and successfully tested it in the chemistry lab of the school where this auditorium belongs to. But I thought, why should I take CO2 from the air? I should rather prevent the emission in the first place. So, working on this, I realized I don't want to work on this only on weekend and on evenings, but I want to make it my Monday morning task. Have rest on the weekend and hang out with my family and friends in the snow. But during the week, I want to work with a team of specialists with a mission to globally reduce the CO2 emissions and to support the energy transition. I want to be part of people who put all their energy, experience, and love into software and into tools that have an effect, a direct effect on the emission reduction. So I add my skills for good. According to the scientists, we have to do it fast. So I said to myself, how can I scale up? So as an example, I am, as a citizen of this planet, I emit CO2. As a Swiss, I emit around 4 tons of CO2 per year. So my personal reduction would be 4 tons. And I thought, well, this is nothing in compared to the international emission scale. So I must find a way how I can scale my action up. Like really. So today I work in a team, so I had the chance to work in a team that last year alone reduced the CO2 emission by 45,000 tons. And this only with heat pump projects and solar projects. So compare my reduction to what I can achieve in a team. The teamwork is a lot more significant. And this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And be a voice for the snow. So now let's come back to Switzerland and back to Elm. There is an old weather station which is around 1,000 meters above sea level, close to the village. And what you see here, it looks like a snowstorm, but this is the data from this measurement weather station. The data is around, it started, the first measurement started in 1987, goes to 1921, where they stopped this particular weather station, so they have 135 years of data. There were local farming families that had the job to do 3 times a day, make measurements, and put this and write these measurements down on paper. By the way, one of the daughters of this family is internationally known because she almost won all gold medals possible in alpine skiing competitions around the world. So we Swiss, we were very proud of her. That's what I try to say. So, so again, the data they had collected every 8 days, they put it on paper and sent it to the Federal Office of Meteorology and Climatology, Meteoswiss, to Zurich. The data here, it shows the average temperature per month. So each dot is 1 month with one temperature. When you look at the data, this is weather. Data points are scattered, and you cannot really directly see their story they're hiding from you. But when you put a simple linear regression, a linear approximation, that is a curve or a line which has the minimal error to all the points, then you see there is a slope. Compare it to the initial measurements, there is a slope. So the yellow area indicates this. But a linear approximation is too simple. Normally, data scientists use higher order mathematics to do that. So we fiddle around with different algorithms, and an approximation fits very well to this data set, is 1/3 order polynomial. So when applying this, you see it gets a curve. And when plotting this in a larger time range, you can now make a prediction from now to the future. So not only everywhere around the planet is the temperature rising, but also in Elm. And that is not good for our snow. So I thought, what's happening with my beloved snow? So I went back to the data and looked only for a month with the snow temperature. Maybe I can show something that is even more interesting. So I separated all the data below the 0 degrees Celsius line, which is snow temperature, and only work with these months from now on. So I went on to count the months per year that had snow temperature. So, for example, the maximum amount of months with snow temperatures is 5, and the minimal is 1. Again, when you put in a linear regression, you see a decline. And when you put a higher order mathematical function, you see it declines and it bends. So putting it on a larger time range, all of a sudden you see it goes down. And there is an interesting point. It's where the red line meets the white line, the 0 line. That means from this moment in time, there is no month below 0 degrees Celsius. So using this simple mathematical predictor, you would say, well, it's around 2055. So that means 2055 in Elm, in the village, that's not the conditions anymore for snow. You have to go higher, if that is still the case. So I don't like this, but this is what data says, right? This is the story in my data. And it's not the right temperature for snow anymore. So remember, I promised you that you know why I want to talk about snow. Now you know. We're going to lose it. So I love snow. That's pretty obvious, right? So can I do something? The answer is yes. Yes. But one single person's action is not enough anymore. It needs collective support on all levels to make sure that this prediction is not going to happen. It needs strong leadership from business, from government, and we need people demand action. So I conclude, it needs all of us to save the snow.